Hey, Maria back with another video. It's 8:41 a.m. and it is March 30th, Saturday, and I hope everyone's having a good weekend. Here in Bakersfield, it looks like there's a lot of clouds covering the sky. It looks cool outside, really it does, but it's not a fun day to be outside, at least as an adult. So we're like here getting close to Easter. Tomorrow's Easter. Is it Easter? Yeah, I'm just had to check on that. Feel I've been like in my room for like the last few weeks, just sitting around, either working on content, or listening to music, or doing some sort of art, but mostly working on content. I've also, what else have I been doing? There's been times where I just don't want to think about anything too serious. So I've been like watching a lot of older cartoons that I remember, and episodes of Garfield and Friends that I had forgotten about. They were actually pretty damn funny. Clever humor in that cartoon, which is quite enjoyable. It's an escape from the bullshit that I was living through. Anyway, so yeah, I'm still dealing with a lot of mood swings and depression over what I went through, and I try to find things to interest me, but it's hard. You know what I mean? It's hard, when you've experienced something like that. But anyway, so I was thinking about Easter, and of course, holidays mark certain times in your life. I think just about everybody who's my age and older, of course, look back on holidays when they were a kid and stuff. And I remember, my favorite holiday, I think, was Christmas. Because of the color, my dad being decorative, and he was really excited always about Christmas. And I mentioned he loved the decorating. I loved the music. It was always such a big deal, the Christmas dinner, the decorations, the food, the candy. Oh my gosh, my parents just used to go out and buy shitloads of candy. And we had like this buffet in the, it was like a little buffet cabinet they kept in the kitchen, and it would just be covered with all kinds of candy and stuff, and I would say that Christmas growing up was my favorite holiday. And the second holiday, I loved Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day was, now as an adult, I love Valentine's Day more. And some people would say, well, why is that? Because you're not like in a relationship or anything. I think what it is at Valentine's Day is like, I love the colors, the little expressions, and the decorations, especially like the vintage Valentine's Day cards. They are so beautiful. I loved it in school when we would pass them out, and that was always like cool, and I'd come home and read all my little Valentine's Day cards. And I also remember writing out Valentine's Day cards and putting them in these little pouches that the teacher would make us create, and we would put them on the end of our desk, and people would deliver their little Valentines. That was actually fun. I loved that, and Easter was a fun time because, I had mentioned when I was younger, my parents sent us to a church for a little bit while I was in grade school, and we didn't stay very long. But I do remember, like, on Easter Sundays going to church. And of course, I will tell you, I have been a clothes lover all my life. And what I would say is that most of the clothes that my mom picked out for me for school were rather dorky. Like, I know kids made fun of my socks because they had like little people on it and stuff like that, which I liked my socks, okay? But still, I would say the majority of the clothes that my mom picked out for me were things that I didn't want to wear. And the reason why is because my mother was a recluse. And I don't know if it was related to this issue or it was just my mom being lazy. Maybe it was a combination of both. I don't know. But she became a recluse. She was an alcoholic and everything. And so we got most of our clothes from catalogs, like companies like Sears and Roebuck and Montgomery Ward and J.C. Penney. And I will say, back in those days, Sears was not really cool when it came to clothes. They weren't. When I got old enough, I remember asking my mom, hey, I want to start picking out my own clothes. So I remember her giving me money and me going down to, clothes stores that were more for younger people. Instead of me wearing like clothes that God, it was horrible. But anyway, because unless the kids that I went to school with at the time, they were going to places like Miller's Outpost and, I don't know, Mervyn's or whatever, or, going to other places to go get clothes. And I felt like, man, I'm so limited. It's another reason why I wanted to learn to make clothes, because I felt as though the clothes that my parents picked out for me were not really expressing who I was. And I knew that I was an expressive person from the get-go. So what else did I want to say? So Easter, I loved Easter, the clothes that I would say, when it came to school clothes, my mother picked out really shitty stuff. But for little frilly, pretty type girly clothes, for church, I would say that my mom did a really good job, because I love girls in ribbons in their hair. I like little frilly dresses. I love patent leather shoes. I remember having this white pair of patent leather shoes that I would wear on Sundays, and then of course on Easter and stuff. And I remember thinking, I wish I could get these in different colors. And I remember one time looking at, I think it was like the Sears catalog. Mind you, they usually didn't have anything cool. But as a little kid, I did think that they had cute clothes because, what do you call it? They had things like Winnie the Pooh, which is one of the dress lines. They used to have like a dress line made of Winnie the Pooh. Like, they didn't necessarily have Winnie the Pooh on the dress, but they had him on the tag. And I remember like getting Winnie the Pooh books. I remember loving Winnie the Pooh cartoons. I remember Sears used to exclusively sell Winnie the Pooh items, okay? It was like that was exclusive to that store. And then I don't know what happened, but, Winnie the Pooh started being sold at other places. But I loved the little dresses that she picked out for church. And I loved the fact that she would put ribbons in my hair to match for the holidays or whatever. And so, all of these things, my natural interest in clothes, and the fact that my mom did, put ribbons in my hair, and she always made sure my barrettes matched my clothes. She would, if there was like a little Valentine's party at school, I was always dressed up. I mean, this is just how I am, you know what I mean? And when you deal with people who want to change that, this is who you are. It's just part of who you're meant to be, But that's not the part of this. I'm just kind of going down memory lane, thinking about Easter and then going back on all these other holidays. I think as an adult, every other year I would say I get the urge to go and dye some eggs and stuff. But, if I had people in my life, right, that I felt like I could trust, people that I felt close to. I know in the past, when I was living back in the Antelope Valley in the 90s, when I was, younger and raising my son and stuff, I would live in different apartment complexes and trailer parks and everywhere else you could think of. I would have people come over and, hang out. And I liked that. I really do. I like having that kind of company where people are just kind of hanging out, doing whatever, eating, making food. I love that. I like that sort of atmosphere, okay? But the thing is that, I'm always in situations where people wanted to, I knew that people were spying on me or whatever, and I wasn't comfortable with it. So it's like, I mentioned that I'm a very sincere person, and it's not like I don't want friends. It's just that, I've always been in bad situations. But as an adult, if I did have people that I had a close relationship with and I felt like I could trust, yeah, definitely, I would have parties a lot, I definitely would have an Easter egg hunt for adults, right? I know that people think of me as someone who is a kid at heart, and I'm not going to lie, I am. And looking back on my past life, and this life as well, I realized that I never really had the enjoyment, a full enjoyment of childhood. You know what I mean? And so, as an adult, this is something that I bring into my life. And you know what? I think that it has given me a lot of comfort in many times it has. And, like I said, people can act out their frustrations in several different ways. They could um, uh, kill other people, okay? Or they can kill themselves. Or they could, become alcoholic. I know I went through that whole gamut of drinking excess alcohol, getting overly high on weed. I remember, I never really went too deep into drugs or whatever, but I do remember the issues of, just harming myself, okay? And I never took that out on others. Like, I know what other people did to me, right? But I, I've always felt like, the holidays, I'm going back to the holidays thing, and having relationships and friendships, yeah, I mean, of course, I think everybody would like to have, people that they can hang out with, people that they can invite over, people that they can spend time with, people that they can really have heart-to-heart conversations with, and not feel like they're used in any way. See, I think one of the reasons why I have a hard time dealing with plastic relationships is because obviously I've dealt with them all my life in this, and I've seen the damage that it causes. Okay, I'm 53 years old. I struggle. I've never had consistent employment. I've always been harassed, bullied when I was growing up. So I've always had this unstable life, and so, and I feel as though, not having, like, relationships, friendships, okay, that's what my main thing is a wise decision when I have to feel like I need to protect myself, but, yeah, going back to the party thing, yeah, I mean, definitely, I would have, like, parties, I always wanted a piñata at a party. Why? Because I never had one, and I feel as though I would definitely like one. If that makes me weird, well, I'm sorry, I missed out on a lot of shit, you know what I mean? I missed out on a lot of shit, and going back to the Easter thing, I thought it was always kind of disappointing when, because I'm not a ham person, okay? Like, that's one thing that kind of killed Easter, okay? I'm going to say that Easter was kind of killed because, okay, I like the Easter baskets. I love jelly beans, especially the black ones, okay? I love jelly beans. Second choice of jelly bean, I would say, would probably be the green one because I liked lime. And then the third one would be cherry. And then the fourth one would be orange. And then the other three that would get left in the jar as I was eating jelly beans would be the grape one, the white one, and the pink one. And then finally I'd break down and say, like, okay, fuck it, I'll eat the pink one. And then I would eat the white one, which would be pineapple. And it was always the grape ones that were last. I never liked grape anything, which I know a lot of people were like, I think that's weird because people always assume that black people love grape soda, love everything. No, I never cared for the grape flavor. But I don't know if I eventually ended up eating them or if I threw them in the trash. Probably threw them in the trash, and I don't know. But anyway, yeah. And then I was thinking about candies, too. When I was younger, I remember I would go to 7-Eleven, 7-Eleven, which was like right across the desert from where I lived. And I remember just filling up on candy and coming home and just having a field day. And, the thing is, I would have my little money, and I would go and get candy for myself. And I always wanted to bring my dad back something. Now, I mean, it's funny because I never thought about my mom. And it's not that I didn't care about her, but it was like I always felt like this connection to my dad. And I knew my dad loved York peppermint patties. And I remember I was at 7-Eleven one day, and I saw, now they sell them all the time, but they're like these big ones. They're giant, right? And I was so happy to bring that home to him because it was like super big, But anyway, yeah, I miss childhood. Those moments. But I didn't like going and getting bullied at school. But I do remember during this time of the year, what I loved the most was sitting in class with the door open, and I could hear the I guess the maintenance people around the schoolyard cutting the grass, and I could smell it, and it always felt so, I don't know, it had a beautiful feeling to it, you know what I mean? So there were certain things I liked about school, and it was usually those things, those odd things that most people don't think about. It really wasn't so much me having a good social environment, because I didn't have that. I think it was obviously rigged. It was obviously manipulated, and it's actually quite sad when I think about it. But it's made me wise and understand like what kind of relationships I want in my life. And I feel as though like my father, James Calvin Gordon, the one who's traveled with me, my soulmate. I feel as though our relationship was beyond like what most people can even understand. And this is probably one of the reasons why I've always had high standards. People have always said, well, gosh, Maria, lower your standards, blah, 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 blah. Okay. There is nothing like having someone care about you regardless of the situation that you're in. Now, I understand that, marriage is an institution, and that's fine. I'm not saying people should get married or they shouldn't get married. I mean, people have to have families. They have to have structure. I get that. Okay, but, a lot of times people forget their partner has feelings. They might be with their partner only because they're getting by financially or whatever. And, if you understand that when you go into that sort of arrangement, then that's fine, okay? But people like me could easily be abused, and I don't want to be abused, okay? I don't want to be around people who are lukewarm towards me either. You know what I mean? Apparently, my soulmate loved me for me, whether there was money or whatever. And obviously, when you're dealing with people who are of the opposite sex, most of the time the pressure to have sex with that person is extreme and unbearable, right? So, I mean, I never had a sexual relationship with my father in this life, and must have never really had one other than the fact that I did procreate, so I must have not really enjoyed that sort of intimacy, okay? For whatever the reason. And yeah, I mean, I do find men attractive. Obviously, I do. I mean, I know good looking people when I see it, okay? But, I'm a person who has been put on this planet just to survive, just to try to find my way through the puzzle of this, this like it literally it's like a maze, okay? And you people get off course because they're led off course. I mean, like, we're born to believe certain things. We get directed into certain situations. It looks like there's snow on the mountains. Maybe there is. Weird. Anyway, but anyway, I've dealt with a lot of stuff, and basically in this life, my main concern is just for me to get through it. You know what I mean? I never put marriage or anything like that as a priority. And when it comes to relationships, I understand a lot of people can't love you just for you. People want something from you, okay? But and that's how it is. Okay, I get it, but I think I've had enough of that. So nothing obviously compares to the love that I've experienced in my past life, and it's very difficult to find something like that. You know what I mean? Um, so I think now my main focus is, of course, is making instructional videos, which I like. I like doing that. And there's other things I find myself creating, and I want to express. um, I just feel like going through this experience, it has left me feeling very dark in a way, because like I said, your trust in people is gone completely. It's gone. And understanding a lot of people's standards, um, and like, for example, me coming to the realization that I don't know how, like, you could be the sibling, or you could adopt a kid or whatever and go through this whole to me, I don't get it. I mean, I just feel like it was the whole experiment to me was, obviously, we know, I mean, I don't want to go into the originator. I already mentioned all of that before, but it's dark, you know what I mean? And so then me being in situations where I was always surrounded with bullying, unnecessary harassment, that sort of stuff. I see now that I understand some things about people that it's hard for me to overlook. And I understand that, I do. I mean, I definitely, there's certain people, like, I keep thinking, man, if things were different, I would definitely fucking contact this person to, like, go and hang out. I would definitely do this, okay? But right now, I'm in a very stagnant part in my life, okay? I need to be able to move forward so that I can live, so I can start a life, okay? Right now, I don't want to talk or deal with anybody until, like I said, I need to start making money. I need to start making money. And, I know this issue that I've been dealing with has been going on for quite a long time. And it's very frustrating because, like I said, I never, um, I never asked for this. I think that what they were holding against me is the fact that, obviously I am a clone, and obviously I was an immortal. And this, to me, is so weird, okay? I wake up in this freakish nightmare every day. I was an immortal in my past life. And in this life, I tend to, because they don't understand, a lot of black people, okay, look younger than their age, okay? Now, when I look in the mirror at myself, I'm like, okay, I do understand. I do look younger than somebody who is 53 years old. But people already know who I am. They know it. So I think what their goal was to try to, what do you call it? Make it so that I'd stop dressing nice. That I would change myself so that I could look like everybody else. But the thing is, everybody knows that I'm not like everybody else. This whole thing has been played out. I don't get it. It's silly. It's just silly. But this is who I am. You know what I mean? And the fact that I've come back as a woman, I'm grateful for that. I'm very grateful for that. You know what I mean? This is who I am. It's my true nature. It's always been me. I feel like even though I believe that this CB Braganza, Braganza, I was looking at the outfit that he was wearing, and it's so funny because, like, I remember when I was in high school wishing that, because I was in sewing in high school, but I really feel as though the best lessons I got was, number one, from my dad, and also as I learned and picked it up again myself, okay? But I was looking at what he was wearing in that picture where the turban on his head, and he's wearing this, like, I think it's a jacket or a coat, but it's got bell sleeves on it. And I remember when I was in high school thinking how I would love to be able to design clothes with the bell sleeve, right? It's funny because I realized that there are a lot of the things that I've worn or liked to wear or wanted to wear were things that he probably did. You know what I mean? This is just how reincarnation works. You come back with the same likes. You come back with the same interests. You know, there's reasons for it. You know what I mean? Some little kids, like, for example, I saw this one video on a kid who was reincarnated, and he always liked planes. You know what I mean? He always liked planes, and then he started talking about how he was in World War II and stuff like that. And, you know, if you can start studying your kid, you can start figuring out certain things about your kid. Really, like, what are their interests? You know what I mean? You can start, like, thinking and examining it closer, you know? I was thinking how precious families really are because, you know, when it comes to reincarnation, there's a big possibility that you could be giving birth to your ancestors. That's a huge possibility. So, you know, like, when you think about it, it's I mean, it's quite amazing, you know. Anyway, is there something else I wanted to share today before I wrap up this video? I've been going through a lot, though. You know, I'm sad because of, you know, being involved in something I'd rather not have been involved with. When I do the math, I realize how many years I missed out on, and I came up with the first, if, you know, the first would be 88 years for C.B. Braganza living as Prince Alamehu. Because he was taken at 7 years old, he at least may have had 6 years that were decent of his life. But the rest of his life, 88 years of misery. Okay, and then I would say in my life was cut off around 6 years old as well, okay, because this is when the bullshit started to intensify. So I'll put all these years together, that comes up to 134 years that I have suffered. That's pretty fucking goddamn amazing. So it's no wonder why Maria likes her, you know, Cabby doll, and that's the reason why Maria wants to have a doll house, and that's the reason why Maria likes her, you know, her British music, and that's the I am, because this is everything that's happened to me is because of who I am and what I've experienced, and this is how it works when it comes to reincarnation. You know what I mean? Just like, you know, I married my soulmate and I produced a child, Louise. Okay, Louise, my spouse, my soulmate, ends up dying and comes back through Louise. Crazy, okay? But reincarnation works this way, okay? So, you know, pay a little bit more attention to your kids and the things that they say, you know. I remember when Houston was little, my son was little, you know, those old cowboys, Yippee-ki-yay. I don't know, I never put too much into it. But, and it may not even be related to a past life, but I still wondered where he heard that. Where did you hear that? That's what blew me away, because at that time, you know, he wasn't in any sort of system where, like, he was too young to start school. Okay, too young to start school. He and I, when he was little, he spent pretty much every day with me, right next to me, all the time. Okay. I watched all the TV shows with him, gladly, because I love Nickelodeon and all that. And I don't really ever hear y'all hearing anything like that. Okay, so if that's related to a past life, we don't know. Okay, he could have been one of my dad's, you know, friends or something, or relative or something. We don't know these things. Okay, but they're certainly worth looking into, and this is one of the reasons why I started digging out my divination cards, and this is one of the reasons why I'm teaching people these little lessons and stuff like that, because it's important to know who you are. It's important to chisel down, you know, obstacles in our life. It's important to know what's in front of us so that we know how to deal with it. You know what I mean? Here, all this time, I was thinking, okay, it's just my family. It's only my family that's causing me problems at work. No, it was bigger than that. Why the hell? I'm just a girl who lived in Lancaster, California, as far as I was concerned, who wanted to get cheap rent and moved over here to Bakersfield. That's all I fucking knew. Okay. So it's like, I remember back in the 90s when I started working with, using the tarot off and on, okay. I remember, getting general readings or doing general readings of myself. Now, mind you, there are some people who use the tarot who are, who've used it consistently from the time they got, I would pick it up here and there and whatever. I'm not, I've never used it all the time. Had I used it all the time, made it a regular part of my life, I would have been giving myself general readings and finding out what was going on. I had no idea. No idea whatsoever. So anyway, I think that's about it. I've been talking for 30 minutes. I'm just kind of rambling on about nothing, but I'm very glad that you sat and watched this video. I hope that you guys know that I do appreciate your support, and I appreciate, all the well wishes. Have a great Easter. Bye-bye.